When I have questions about knitting, she's the person I go to. This is a little sneak peek of my zipper sweater. I've never had to scratch my head harder, had to frog more, had made more mistakes in such a short amount of time. I want to say that this is the most intricate thing I have ever made. This week I also made a swatch. Here it is. This is the... Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, my current project, finished projects. Sometimes I talk a bit about my planned project, sometimes I talk a bit about yarn, just anything that pops into my head while I sit here and chat with you. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. But before we get into this week's knit and everything I've been doing this week, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm wearing. And recently I've just been digging through my knitted closet, trying to dig out all of my fall knits and really put them towards the front, so I choose more from them because I want to get the most bang for my buck, the most wear out of these while it's fall, because I love them all year round, but I love them especially much in the fall. They're just a bit more special in the fall. And today one of those sweaters is the Ingrid sweater. I actually made this I think spring I made this, so this is my first fall wearing it. So it's not a sweater I made during fall, but the color and the wool, everything, it just screams fall. So this is very much one of my fall sweaters. As I said, this is the Ingrid sweater by Petiteknit, and I've knit mine using Sandnesgarn Petiteknit, but this Petiteknit I got from their outlet, so it was some faults with it. I think the color maybe, or the spin, the length of the skeins. There was a lot of different things going on with this yarn, but I got it for quite cheap, and I was able to make this sweater with it. And for this having been a kind of discounted yarn, outlet yarn, I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I'm so glad that they had discounted outlet yarn in this color. This is the color Poppy, and it's been a color ever since Sandnesgarn started having this color. I wanted to make something in it, so I'm so happy I got to make my Ingrid in it. It is the perfect color for Ingrid, and I also think Petiteknit is a great yarn for Ingrid. I think I've made one kid size one and one adult size one before this, and this has definitely been my favorite in terms of how it looks, how the structure pops. It's really warm. It's also the closest looking to the original out of the versions I've made, so I'm really happy with this. The one thing I don't love about this is that it isn't quite as oversized as I would want it to be. Here in the body it is, but on the shoulders, the sleeves, the length of the sleeves are not quite as oversized as I would want them to be, especially the sleeves. I have pulled on this as much as possible. I have blocked it and pulled on this like as much as I could, and also this, tried to pull it when it was wet, and this is the longest I've gotten the sleeves to be. Of course I can like pull on them and hold it, but if I'm just moving around, the sleeves tend to creep up to about here, so I get quite a lot of wrist showing, and for some sweaters I think that's okay, but this is a quite warm sweater. It's in Petiteknit Norwegian wool. It's really warm, and for really warm sweaters I just don't think this much wrist is the best, because that's quite cold. I want it, when I'm cold and I want to wear warm sweaters, I want it to like reach the mid of my palm here, so I don't know what to do about that. As I said, I have tried pulling on it, and if I pull on it even more now when I'm wearing it, then this part and the arm part here gets a bit weird. I think my issue might be that with Petiteknit patterns that I might have too broad shoulders and big arms for her patterns, because I don't get very oversized sleeves in her patterns, and sometimes they are a bit short. In regular sweaters, that's not a big issue because I can just knit stockinette or stripes or something longer. But in the Ingrid, everything you do is based on rows. So I could have done a couple of rows more of the ribbing some places here, but it's not as easy to just make it longer. And also the sweater needs blocking. So when I was done knitting it, I didn't really know how much it would grow. But I don't know what to do next, if I should try to do a bit more of the ribbing, if I should try to block it again. I don't know, but it's been a bit of an issue of mine when it comes to Petiteknit, but only for her like structure sweaters. Her other like stockinette sweaters fit me just fine, but for this one and the Moby I've made also that structure, they just sit a bit tight here and a bit tight here and are a bit short in the sleeves. So I don't know if her structure sweaters maybe have a bit less positive ease, if I am a way tighter knitter when I do structure. Also for this, I know the sleeves are shorter because you do it based on rows, but I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that going forwards, I will, for at least the yoke, do a size up and then see if I can size down to my regular size again after you split for sleeves or you join under the armpit again, because I would want this to just be a bit bigger, and also the sleeves probably go up a size for the sleeves, but then do my regular size for the body, because the fit of the body I am really happy with. But all that being said, I am still quite happy with the Ingrid. I'll just keep pulling on it a bit, and maybe with wearing it and pulling on it even more, it will grow a bit. But until then, I am fine living with a bit cold wrist, because I do really enjoy this and enjoy the color and everything. And I have at least learned that I should probably size up when it comes to Petiteknit and structure. So I feel like as long as I learn something, at least from my knits, it's never a fail. And I also get loads of use out of this, so I won't count it as a fail, even though there are some parts of this I wish would fit me a bit better. But all that being said, we can move into my actual whips of this week. And I do have a few, but first off, we just have to take a little moment for the wedding dress. This week I had so many good intentions. I was going to sew in pearls. I was going to actually start knitting on it a bit again. Maybe I'd get to try it on again, but the week just flew by with nothing but good intentions. But I just have not had the time in between everything else to get to the wedding dress. So I don't really have anything to say, but I am pretty sure that I'm going to get at least something done next week. I am planning to at least get to try it on next week. I want to be able to finish the pearl belt before I try it on. I'm going to try it on pretty much towards the end of next week, but I hope I'll get to try it on then and that the belt will be done. So that's really going to be a priority. And I'd also love to knit a bit more length on both the mohair and the main wedding dress. So fingers crossed I'll have more knitting time next week, so I'll get to it. But let's just move on to something I've actually worked on. And my next oldest whip then is my zipper sweater, which I'd done quite a lot on last week because that was my main project, and it's definitely been my main project this week as well. I had a little moment where I was putting this off and procrastinating working more on it, because I had come to the point where I like to do the zipper. I've learned from doing multiple of these that I need to get the zipper out of the way before I continue working on it. So when I got to that point, instead of doing the zipper, I just stopped working on this altogether. I think that lasted for 1 to 2 days, but then I just jumped into it. I did I never remember what it's called, but this part here in the back, I did this part and sewed that on, or sewed it down on both sides, and then the only thing left to do was do the zipper. And I got started. I think this is almost the most nervous I've been. I think the most nervous I've been is the first time I did it, but this might be the second most nervous I've been, because this is, I haven't knit that much in Drops Daisy yet. I haven't washed it that much yet. I don't know exactly how it behaves, and it's also my first time sewing a zipper into merino wool. I've done alpaca wool blends and I've done 100% wool, but I haven't done merino, so I was really uncertain to how much I should pull on it when installing the zipper and everything. It was quite stressful, but I just decided to do it, and I did pretty much all of it, but then you're supposed to stop to figure out the last bit. So I stopped for the night. It got really late because it took me quite long, and in the morning when I'd done like half the zipper, I woke up and I realized that the zipper isn't completely even. I don't know if you can see, but this part here is a bit further down. The ribbing ends, I think, 1/2 centimeter further down on this side than on this side, maybe 1/4 centimeter. It's just barely noticeable. I think it is noticeable. I can see it, but I'm also the one who has done it and looked at this really closely. But one side of the ribbing is just a tiny bit further down, and that's like the one point in the zipper where you can very clearly see if it isn't lining up completely. So I stopped. I didn't progress. I was going to visit my grandmother that day. She's like, when I have questions about knitting, she's the person I go to. So I brought this with me when we visited her, and I asked her, what should I do? Should I just unravel it all, do it again, or not unravel, but take it out and try to do the zipper again? But she said she could see it, but it's also not that noticeable. And also, if you hold it up, no one's going to be looking at me this closely, like right at the neck. So if you hold it up a bit further back, you can't really see it. And also, this is pre-washing, pre-everything. So I don't know how it will be after all of that. And I also don't know if I were to do it all again, if I would get a better or worse result, because that's hard to say. So she said, just leave it. It's also for yourself. You're not giving it away. Leave it. Just progress. So I decided to do that and finished sewing in the zipper. And I am quite happy with the zipper install, except from this part. It does bunch up a little bit right here, right now, but that is, I hope, because it's pre-blocking and washing, and that it'll all even out once it's washed and everything has just been pulled on a little bit. I am also really, really happy with this zipper. Prior to the last zipper, the zipper sweaters I've done this year, I've always used Petiteknit's zippers. I actually have some of them here. This is the Petiteknit zipper. It is a bit more fancy with this thing, and then it's also like a metal zipper. I've used this. I think I've used these 5 or 6 times, and I've been happy with them. They're easy to install. They work great. But when I was visiting my grandma in the south this summer, we were going to a sewing store because my sister sews a lot, so she was getting some fabric, and I found this zipper. I also found a blue one for my son's zipper sweater, but I found this, and I realized immediately that it was exactly the same color as the zipper sweater I was making. So even though I have zippers at home, I really wanted to get this to have it matching completely, and I'm so happy I did, because this is probably the favorite zipper sweater I've ever made. I have, very rarely, but sometimes I have matched up the color on the side to the zipper sweater I've made. I did that for my sister. I made her a pink zipper sweater and she got this, but the metal still does not match up, and at least for this one, I think it's so much prettier when the whole thing matches up and the zipper is a bit more incognito. It isn't that much like in your face. And also when you open it up, I just think this is so much of a cleaner look than having the metal at the end here, because that's very obvious when you have it like unzipped when wearing it. So I'm just so excited about this. I didn't think having a zipper in the same color would make such a difference, but I really think it does. And I'll definitely still use this. I think I have 3 or 4 of these, and I'll still use these up. But I think if I'm going to make even more zipper sweaters, than like 3 or 4 more, that I'm going to move on from the Petiteknit ones into 100% matching ones, because I think that gives it a bit of an elevated look. So I'm super happy about that. And after I did the zipper, I decided to go straight into the sleeves, because I know that I don't really dislike sleeves, but they're not my favorite. The body really is my favorite. I love knitting the body on sweaters, so I wanted to give that as a gift to myself, to be able to finish this project off with doing the body. This project has been on my wish list for so long. I've had the yarn for a year. I wanted a zipper sweater light for a year and a half, probably, at least. So this really dream knit of mine, I wanted to gift myself, to be able to finish it off with doing my favorite part of any sweater, the body. So I've done the sleeves, I've done both of them, and they also look a bit short. I don't know if they look a bit longer than the Ingrid sweater sleeves right now, but it's also not on. I have tried this on, but that was prior to finishing the sleeves, so I haven't really been able to try it on with the sleeves. When I read how long you were supposed to knit the sleeves in the pattern, it did look short to me, and I think I added some length, and also the ribbing on this is really long, so I hope that saved it. But I think the pattern said you were going to knit the sleeves for 30 centimeters, and that sounded like very little. But as I said, I haven't been able to try it on yet, so I thought I'd do that now, just while I am here and remembering that I am a bit unsure about the sleeves. That's also the great thing about doing the sleeves first, because this sweater is still not done, so if I have to go back and fix the sleeves, add a couple of centimeters on them, it won't be as hard for me to pick this up and do that, because it's still on my needles. Whereas if I had finished it with the sleeves, and those were the last thing I've done, then this in my mind would be finished now, and it would be much harder to go back and frog the sleeves and do them again. Let's see if I am there yet, so I can try it on. I think like that. Let's just see. I'll try it on. I want to see how it looks. I have tried it on once, but I want to see how it also looks on with the sleeves. So this is it, and the sleeves are a great length. Even with me moving around, they still cover all of my wrist, and this is also pre-blocking. I'm pretty sure it will relax a bit and give me a bit of extra length, so the sleeves are a great length. I'm really happy about that, and the fit of this is also great. I love a fit like this. It sits really great here, and it's amazing. I'm just going to see how long I want it. I don't know where I want this to end. I think it's going to be quite a warm sweater, so I don't want it to be too cropped. Usually I'd end my sweaters about here. I don't know how long I'm going to make this. I think I'm going to make it a tiny bit longer than usual, just because the neck on this is so warm. But yeah, this is a little sneak peek of my zipper sweater. Also here you can see the zipper zipped up. You can still see that bit of ribbing here. I don't know if that's going to bother me or not. But yeah, this is a little sneak peek of the zipper sweater. I already love this. I love the color. The daisy is so soft. It's amazing to wear. The fit's amazing. I love how the zipper looks, both done and undone, and I just know that this is going to be a huge favorite of mine because it is so practical, so comfortable, in a color that I really like, and a yarn that I really like. So this is definitely going to come from that, for that favorite spot that some of my sweaters have. This is definitely going to be a sweater I use a lot, and I'm so excited to get it done and be able to wear it a bit this fall. I'm just going to secure the try-on tubing in at least one side, but I'm not going to bother putting it all back on because that usually takes a bit of time. But that is my zipper sweater, a huge favorite of mine already. I cannot tell you how much I already love this, and every time I try it on I just get this burst of happiness because it's fitting so well. I love it so much. It's just great. But that's enough for me just babbling on about how much I love this. But yeah, I only have the body left. So excited. And you can't really see, but I have a bit of yarn left here. I still have quite a lot. I got 1 kilo of the drop daisy, just so I was sure to have enough for the zipper sweater and maybe something else. I don't know what else I'm going to do with the yarn, but it's going to be really great. Also, when I'm finished with the zipper sweater now, that's also what's going to put me under 100,000 meters of yarn in my stash. So that's another thing I'm really excited about. But that is it for the zipper sweater, and we can move into the next thing I cast on. And the next thing I cast on was a much smaller project, and just something I needed to have a project. I want to knit all the time. I have time to knit, and I've been social this week, so I wanted just a small knit I can knit on when we were social that would need no thinking from my side. So I cast on the Sophie shawl. This is the last of the Sophie shawls that I have planned, that I have yarn for. I've made 2 already, and this is the 3rd, and I think it will go to my mom and my 2 grandmas. I don't know which is going to get which, but I have 3 and I'll probably give it to those 3. This is the largest one I'm going to make. This is the largest size of the Sophie shawl, and I'm making it in alpaca wool in this, I don't know what to call it, pink, old pink, dusty pink. I am not quite sure what to call it, but it's pink of some kind in alpaca wool, and I'm making the biggest size. I think I am close to halfway now. I also have not found any of my circular 5mm needles, so I'm doing this on a DP end, and as you can see, the stitches are quite cramped there. I am stressing about losing stitches all the time because they very easily drop off, but luckily we've been fine so far. And yeah, it's a great project. I can just knit on it a bit here and there. I don't really have to pay attention. I have to pay attention sometimes, so I remember to increase or decrease, but I've been fine so far. I have remembered to increase all the times I've been supposed to, and it's been nice among all of the huge wedding dress, zipper sweater, big projects, time-consuming, thought-consuming projects, to just have a mindless, silly little fun project. And it's also great because it is just a mindless, fun, silly project that I can knit a bit on here and there and not think about. And at the same time, I'm also knitting a Christmas gift, so I kind of get to cross 2 things off with one project, but after this I have to start planning out the other Christmas gifts, who are getting Christmas gifts this year, what are they getting, what yarn from my stash can I use. So it is nearing the time where I have to start thinking about all of that. But right now I am just finishing this first before I'm going to launch into all of that planning, and then I really liked planning out. Just with this I had planned out 3 projects. I was going to do 3 of these, and then I've just had them at the top shelf. You can't really see it up there knowing those projects. So I think I'm going to continue doing that instead of planning out 20 projects and putting them all up there and feeling the pressure. I'm just going to do like 3 to 5 projects each time and then put new ones up there once I'm done with my planned projects. But yeah, that is my Sophie scarf so far. I've also decided not to spit splice this because I think it's easier to weave in ends on the Sophie shawl than to spit splice it, and I save more time doing it that way. So I've decided to do that, and it's been really nice to be able to change skeins without spit splicing, even though, don't get me wrong, I love spit splicing, it's a lifesaver, but it feels like a bit of a guilty pleasure to change skeins without doing it. But that is it for my Sophie shawl. And then I got to cast on another one of my kind of dream projects. I've been able to knit a lot of dream projects lately. I love that, and I also feel like fall is the perfect time for doing that, because kind of all knit projects are dream projects in fall. But I am doing a knit along with my friend for sweater number 20. We both got yarn at the same time, and then ever since we've just been texting each other. Do you have time to cast on sweater number 20 now? Do you have time now? What are you knitting on now? Do you have time? And finally this week we both had time at the same time. I had a couple of projects, but I had time for sweater number 20, of course, and my friend also had time and space on her needles, so we did cast on sweater number 20, and I had not looked at the pattern. I had bought it, but I just put it in my pattern library. I didn't want to look at it and tempt myself before I had the time to cast on, so I hadn't looked at it. So the evening I cast on was also the first evening I'd looked at that pattern, and wow, those charts are something. I don't know why I thought it would be so much easier, because I have looked at the pattern before and seen all of those cables and everything going on, but when I looked at the charts and the pattern I was shocked. And it's always something when starting a new pattern with lots of charts that you kind of have to get used to the charts, what all of the different things mean. So in the start there was a lot of like scrolling up and down the pattern to try to find out, okay, this sign, what does that mean? And I made so many mistakes because the cables and left leaning and right leaning, and I would look at the wrong symbol and do it the wrong leaning way. Luckily this is a knit along, because if not this sweater would be riddled with mistakes. I only noticed my wrong leaning cables because my friend had actually done it the right way, and I was like, our cables are leaning the different direction, what's going on? So I got that fixed. I also made a mistake the very first round row of knitting, because I forgot to do knits and purls. I only did purls, so I have stopped counting, but I'm pretty sure I have made more than 20 mistakes with forgetting to purl, for twisting the cables the wrong direction, forgetting increases, and I've also, when I've done the increases, I've only knit those like knit stitches instead of purling those or making cables on them, so it's a lot to keep track on. But I'm finally at a place where it's been more than a day since the last time I made a mistake, and this is my sweater. She should be free of mistakes right now, hopefully. And it's also been a little while since I've made mistakes. I think that's because I am finally done with the part of the back yoke where you do increases. So you start up here with all of these super cute cables. It's also much easier to do now that everything's established. Start up here, and then you do increases every row. So you don't just do it on knit rows, you also do it on purl rows. So you have to remember that, and then you do that for quite some time. Here I'm also going to pick up for shoulders. I'm nervous about picking up and making that look good with all of these cables. But I'm finally done with all of that and establishing all of these new cables, and now I am only working back and forth, not adding any stitches, not doing anything other than doing the cables. Not that that's just, it's still a lot to keep track on, a lot to remember. The cables also have, there's so many different, like, these cables you do every knit side, these you do every other, these are every 8th, these are every 6th. So you have to remember your count on all of the different bonds, and also where you are in the chart, so you knit the right amount of rows according to the chart. So I think this has been my most intricate knit to date, at least for my structure knits. I don't know if we also compare to color work, if this is also the most intricate, but I've never had to scratch my head harder, had to frog more, had made more mistakes in such a short amount of time. I want to say that this is the most intricate thing I have ever made, but wow, it's so beautiful. I'm so excited about it. I just can't get enough. I want to knit on it all the time. When I'm not knitting on it, I want to look at it. It's so beautiful. I love all of the different cables, how they look together, the yarn. This is my very first time using dropped alpaca, which is the yarn I am using, and I'm knitting it in the color Sand, which I was really unsure about this yarn when I got it, at least the color, because I thought, will this color suit me? Is it a bit too beige? I don't know. I was just unsure about the color, but now that it's working up, I'm loving. I still don't know if it will suit me 100%, but I love the way the colors look, the color and cables work together, and I love when making v-necks, which this is, to make it in quite a neutral color, so I can wear whatever underneath without having to stress about it matching. So I am really happy about the color choice now, but I am a bit unsure about it suiting me still. I think it's super hard to choose colors and knowing if it will suit you or not, but hopefully this will suit me. I'm going to wear it no matter what because I love it. I think it's beautiful, but choosing colors, it's hard. I'm not great at it. I can't understand what to think about, but I was going to talk about Drops Alaska. I haven't worked with it that much yet. I think I'm onto my 3rd skein now, and so far it's great. I think it gives great cable definition. It's great to work with. It doesn't split a lot. It feels great. It's quite soft on the skein. It's quite soft in the fabric it makes. It's great to spit splice. It has a great price. From what I've experienced so far, it is a great yarn. I really enjoy it. I don't know why I haven't tried it yet, but if my experience continues to be this great, it's definitely not my last time using Drops Alaska, because I've been not pleasantly surprised, because I'm not really surprised, but I really have enjoyed this yarn and I'm super excited to continue. But I have got a bit of a head start on my friend right now, so I am waiting until she catches up to me. I just have not been able to put this down. I at least wanted to get to the place where I stopped doing increases, and then I had a little oopsie and continued knitting a bit too far, I think. So this is on a break until my friend catches up with me, because the whole point of our knit-along was to knit it together and help each other. And also I don't want to get to the point of the shoulders without her, because I'm stressed about the pickup and making the transition between the cables look great. But that's my sweater number 20. I'm super excited about it. It's going to be so great. It's already so beautiful. Can't wait to do the front so I get to properly try it on for the first time. And then my very last project that I just cast on a whim, just because I realized it's Socktober, is my Sunday socks. It is getting colder. I love wool socks and I don't have a lot of wool socks, so I thought it's October, it's cold, it's perfect to knit up this pair of socks. So I started yesterday, cast on, and I've knit 3 rows, and then this morning I woke up, I was going to continue on them, and turns out I've lost my needle and I am super bummed out about it. I love DPNs, or that's maybe a bit strong, but I prefer DPNs to anything else when doing short circumference, and these are also my most used DPNs. These are my 4mm ones. I use them for most of the sweaters I make, for socks, pants, everything, and now I only have 4. I don't know where my 5th went, if my son has misplaced it, if I have misplaced it. Don't know where, don't know when, sometime yesterday probably, but I am really bummed out about it. And now I also don't get to work on my socks, but I have thought to myself that I'm probably going to get myself a second pair of 4mm DPNs, because as I said, they are my most used DPNs. I love them. I do knit socks on 4mm DPNs, pants, sleeves on sweaters. I do use them quite a lot, and I have known multiple times before that I've had to wait to cast on a project or wait to do sleeves or something because my 4mm have been busy. I still hope I'll be able to find the 5th one in this set, but in the meantime I don't think it will be crazy to get a second pair of 4mm DPNs, so I am probably going to do that, and then I'll be able to move on with my Sunday socks. And this time I've made Sunday socks once before in Lima and I love them, but I wore a hole in them really quickly. So now I'm using Sandnesgarn Perfect, which has 20% nylon in it, which I hope will help with me not wearing through them quite as fast. I've made a pair for my son in the same color, in this grey, and his socks feel really great. I've washed them, they look great, feel great, so I'm really excited to make myself a pair as well. And then I hope that this Socktober and me starting knitting socks will also finally push me to cast on the penny socks that I have the yarn for. Maybe I'll do that now that I don't have 4mm to work on this, because I actually do have 2 sets of 2.5mm needles, even though those are probably my least used needles. But yeah, I don't have a lot to say about the Sunday socks because I have only done 3 rows on them and I'm now unable to do any more. But those are all of my active projects. I do have quite a few. I think I have 5 now if we count the wedding dress, which is definitely enough. Hopefully I'll finish some of this now before I cast on anymore, but I feel like a good few of them are closer, if not more than halfway done, so I think I'll be able to finish some before I cast on more. And then this week I also made a swatch. Here it is. This is the swatch for the Dagmar jacket, which Petiteknit just released. I have been eyeing that and I just think it looks really cool. I've also wanted something really traditional for a jacket, traditional structure. I don't, what would you call it? Aran. I struggle with pronouncing that, but I think it looks beautiful, more traditional. And I also really wanted a structure jacket cardigan. I have a few cardigans, but I think they're all stockinette. They're different types of like V-necks and the limited wrap, which is a wrap, but they're all stockinette. So I'm really excited to get a structure one. But I looked at the original yarn, and the original yarn is really expensive and also did not have that many different colors to choose between. I did really like the colors it had for the Dagmar jacket though, but it was super expensive, so I didn't want to do that. So I started looking at different yarn alternatives, and preferably some yarn I had in my stash, so I could swatch before getting all of the yarn. And I thought a bit about Alaska, which I now have and I'm using for the first time and really enjoying. And I also thought about Nepal, which I have like scraps here and there from other projects I've made before. I know I love it. It's a great yarn. And I decided to swatch with Nepal first because that's what I have scraps in. And this is my Nepal swatch, which I fell in love with. So I didn't need to do an Alaska swatch because I knew this was it. And I have to say that this is not the color I'm going to be making it in. It is a beautiful color. It's quite close to what I'm wearing now. It's a bit darker. It's the same color as my Louvre sweater. It's the same color and the same yarn that I made my father's zipper sweater in. It's a color that I love, but it's not the color I imagine when I think about the Dagmar jacket. When I see the Dagmar jacket, I see it more in like grey. I really enjoyed the light grey version Petiteknit made, but I think I would want a bit darker. So the yarn I've got, because I have actually gotten yarn, is Nepal, but I've gotten it in the medium grey, I think it's called. It's not dark grey, it's not light grey, it's in between, and I think that's going to be perfect because it's not going to be super light, which I already have sweaters and cardigans that are quite light, so I didn't want even another one of that. But it's also not that dark that the structure kind of disappears in the darkness of it all. So I think it's going to be a great like in the middle color. Super excited about it. I was originally going to get it today, and I have waited to film this quite long just in hopes that I would get the yarn, but it does not look like I'm going to get it today, which is probably good. So I'll get to finish and knit on some of these other projects because I don't know if I could hold off from casting this on. But I have yarn. I am going to knit it, or I don't have the yarn, but I have ordered it. It's going to happen. I am super excited about it, and I think one of the things that really convinced me to do it was this thing here. It didn't really look, I think it looks okay, but it's not my favorite part of the design when I've seen it on Petiteknit. But when I knit it myself, I saw the back, and I think it's so cool because it is a sort of cable, but when you do that cable, as you can see here, the purl stitches on the back almost completely disappear, which I thought was such a cool part of it and really fun part of it when knitting. These are probably my favorite part of the actual design, but just the back of that diamond, it was really fun to knit, and it looks really fun from the backside. So I think that's probably the main thing that convinced me. I also hit gauge with my swatch, or I was like 0.1 stitch away from hitting gauge, so I'm going to call that hitting gauge. And I've already decided to size up, both because I struggled a bit with Petiteknit and it fitting the way I want to when it's structured, and because I wanted it to be more oversized anyways. Hopefully it will be more oversized because I wanted like a really cozy jacket to snuggle up with in the winter and just cozy up in it. I think it will be amazing if it turns out the way I'm picturing it. Hopefully my gauge is right. I've done a gauge swatch, it should be, and I'll be able to make it as oversized as I want it to. But yeah, I'm really excited. This is my swatch. It is really cute. It would be a great color. This is the orange if you're interested in making a Dagmar in that color. But yeah, I think it will also be really great in grey and more versatile probably, and I'll be able to wear it all of the time. I think I'll end up wearing it all of the time. I'm really excited about this. If you can't tell, this fall I'm really into structures. I'm also quite into color work, and that was also my goal going into this fall. I wanted to challenge myself a bit more with color work, challenge myself a bit more with structures. I do knit a lot of stockinette, like my comfort pieces, but I wanted to challenge myself a bit more, and I'm really happy with the amount of challenge I've been able to do so far, and I'm really excited for all of the other projects that this fall is going to bring me. Unfortunately, my fall plans basket is still looking really full. I haven't been able to empty that at all, but hopefully it will shrink a bit before we're done with fall. But that is everything I've knit on this week. I did not finish anything this week, since I just kept casting new things on, but that's it for what I did this week. And then I thought we could weave in ends, and I'm not going to brag because it's not that much, but I want to say that I have actually weaved in ends throughout this week. I'm really happy with myself for doing that. I have weaved in all of the ends on the big Sunday sweater for my friend, and then in a previous episode I've done it for the small one. So 2 of the 3 are now good to go, which is great because I'm giving them away next week. So this is probably the last time you're seeing them. Now I only have the small one to go. Maybe I'll do that today. And then I have also weaved in the ends on these chunky rib pants in the small size in Daisy. So it's not a lot, but I have throughout the week weaved in the ends on 2 projects, which is a lot better than none. So I am really happy about that, and having a week where I've done that instead of finishing projects and not weaving in ends really helps. I still have a couple of projects to go until I'm back to that blanket where we was the last time I was really good at weaving in ends, but we're getting there, getting back on track. But now I'm going to get my needle so we can hopefully finish weaving in ends on this one as well. Back with my needle and we're ready to go. I'm just going to turn this outside in. I'd love to hear if you guys are going to do Christmas gifts, like handmade Christmas gifts this year. What kind of patterns you're thinking about, what, like, if you're doing hats, if you're doing mittens. I would love to hear both like specific patterns and like categories you're making, because I am searching for like inspiration, tips, anything. I usually do quite a few Christmas gifts, but I start planning them way too late, and then I do them kind of on a whim, and that is really stressful. So this year I am trying to plan it out a bit better, but I kind of always go for the same thing, and I can't keep giving the same person a new like Oslo hat or hipster hat every year. So I'm trying to like figure out new patterns, new things I can give. So I'd love to hear like your go-tos, what you're doing this year. I don't know if I'll be able to put out a podcast next week. I'm going to be traveling Thursday, Friday and Saturday next week, so I don't know if I'll be able to put out anything. I might be able to, but I don't know just yet. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to at least put out some kind of video, but I don't know if I'll be able to put out like this type of podcast, sit down, talk about my knits, weaving ends, because I'll be away, I'll be busy, I'll be doing other things, so heads up that there might not be a podcast next week, but hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm pretty sure there'll be some kind of video coming out next week, but yeah, I don't know 100% what next week's going to look like just yet, but yeah, that's a little heads up. I don't really know what to talk about. It's a bit hard to find something to just talk about every time I weave in ends, while also focusing on actually weaving in the ends. Let's see. I am really hoping to finish the zipper sweater before. It was a bit of a bummer to not get the yarn for the Dagmar jacket today, but I hope I'll be able to finish the zipper sweater first, because I'm trying to not have my stash grow, which is really hard when all of the really beautiful pattern keeps coming out this fall, and I'm just so tempted everywhere I turn my head, and I also don't want to like devoid myself of knitting patterns that I love just because I'm going to knit my way out of my stash. I'm not going to do that. It is a bit frustrating that every time I find a new pattern that I love, it does not fit what's in my stash, but also what's in my stash, a lot of the like big piles of yarn have a plan, and it's more like 50 grams of baby merino here and 50 grams of baby merino there that doesn't have a plan. Hopefully I'll be able to do something about all of those like smaller scraps for Christmas gifts or something this year, or baby knits. But yeah, I hope I'll be able to finish the zipper sweater before I get the Dagmar, because that means that my stash won't grow. It also won't shrink, but it won't grow, and then now hopefully I won't be tempted by anything more for a little while. I don't think I will. I have been looking for a cable sweater for quite some time, and I found that in the sweater number 20, so that's why I got that. And I have been looking for a structured jacket to really steal my heart, and the Dagmar did that. So I don't think I am really looking for something else now. Something might take me by surprise, and also I have to get some yarn for my fiance's sweater. I was going to do that early October, I told myself, because his birthday is early November. Still haven't done it. But hopefully I'll do that maybe next weekend as well. Just get the last yarn I need for him. But I do have a lot of plans in the next month. I'm wondering if I'll be able to get to them all and also work on the wedding dress as much as I should. But if things get done a bit later than I thought, I will be fine and the project will be fine. It's not a big problem if things take a bit longer, except for the wedding dress. That's like the one thing with a really strict deadline. So if push comes to shove, I just have to prioritize the wedding dress over all of the other projects. I don't know. I think I'm just rambling on this time while I'm weaving in ends. There is not like no red thread going through this at all. It's just whatever keeps falling into my head, but I hope that's okay. I'm almost done with weaving in the ends on this one, and I'm going to stop because I want to go and get 4mm needles, I think, and also I did this quite late in the day, so the day is getting away from me. But this is the last end here now, and then I'll be done with this as well, which feels great to finally be done both knitting and weaving in ends on this gift, and just in time as well. It always helps to get a bit of like a extra push from a time limit, but that's that. I think this was called the Harald sweater, which I've modified a bit to look more like the Sunday sweaters. That's it. Now both of those are done, and now I only have these two left to get back to the blanket. I'll actually count how many I have left now. So these are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then I also know that I have a pair of baby socks downstairs in the bookshelf that also needs their ends weaved in. So that's 12 projects, which is quite a lot. But this week I wove in ends on 3 projects, given I did not finish any projects this week either, so that helped. But if I keep weaving in 3 of those projects each week, that only means I have 4 weeks left until I'm all done. It will probably take me a bit longer because I'll probably finish projects and weave ends on those, but I think I'll be able to be finished before the new year, which has been like my big goal, to not take any of these projects and that way of weaving in ends, the bucket of shame, don't want to carry that with me into 2025. So I really think I'll be able to not. That's great. I am really happy about that. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to stick with the weaving in of ends now and not fall off again. But that was all I had for this week. I hope you had a good time. If you did, please leave a like and a comment. That means the absolute world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!